Good afternoon, everyone, and for today's video I'll be showing you how to make some no-bake granola bars. Let's get to it.
Alright, so in one bowl you're going to do your dry ingredients. So I measured out 1 3/4 cups of the oats. These are gluten-free oats from Thrive. And I'm just going to add just a pinch of salt, maybe 2. Then I'm just going to add a teaspoon of my cinnamon and just stir that together, and then we're going to get started on our wet ingredients before we combine them all together. Alright, and now you're going to start with your wet ingredients. First, you're going to start with a cup of sun butter. I use sunflower seed butter that is school safe. It's also soy free. You can use any type of nut butter or peanut butter that you like. I'm going to add the half a cup of honey. You don't have to be exact with this. If you feel like at any point it might be a little bit too much of one or the other, you can judge as you go along. And just for a little bit of flavoring, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to give this a stir before we combine all the ingredients together.
And I'm just going to slowly stir in my oats a little at a time and combine them all together. I just had a little bit of honey left over, so I'm just putting the rest in, the remainder in.
This is about 2 cups of the add-ons. I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm using the mini morsels. You can use the bigger morsels. Some do recommend if you're going to add things like dry fruit or nuts to give it a cut, like a little bit of a chop before you add it in. I'm also just going to add a little bit of a sprinkling of my roasted sunflower seeds. But even with sunflower seeds, even though it is a nut alternative, make sure to check because it can have an allergy warning, like it may contain peanuts or tree nuts, meaning it's manufactured in a facility that uses it. But as I don't have a nut allergy, I'm not so worried about cross-contamination. But if you are someone who does suffer, be warned. And also, just to give it a little bit of a chew, I'm going to add some cranberries, some dry cranberries in as well. Even with the dried fruit, always check the manufacturing information because it can be made in a facility. Alright, I'm going to stir this in. It's going to get tougher to stir because it's getting thicker. Alright, and once all your add-ins look like they're evenly distributed, make sure you don't need to add any more. You're going to now put it in your parchment-lined baking dish. Okay, so in your 9-inch baking dish, you're going to line it with parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you can just grease it. You're just going to scoop out your mix. Just going to add it to your baking dish, and then you're going to, all right, and it's going to press it down. Make sure it gets evenly as possible. All right, and what you can do is also put parchment on the top. And just make sure you spread it as evenly as possible throughout. Some tips I saw online said just use the end of a glass basically and press down just to spread everything. And then what you're going to do is once it's all evenly distributed in the pan is you're going to refrigerate it for as long as possible for a couple hours or overnight.
Then after it's been refrigerated, this is what it will look like, and then you can start cutting into your bars.
And once it's cooled and you've cut them into your desired size, you can serve them as is or wrap them up individually. You can put some in the freezer or in the refrigerator, take them individually for snacks for school or for an on-the-run breakfast.
I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, stay well and goodbye.